Hi, I'm Senator Cory Booker. Welcome to this Facebook Live session on what is really a historic moment in Congress. We're on the verge, having had passed in the House of Representatives and now pending passage in the United States Senate, anti-lynching legislation. In our country, as most know, from the 1870s until the 1950s, we had over 4,000 U.S. citizens lynched. And in Congress, there was over 200 attempts to pass anti-lynching legislation, have it fail time and time again. And here in the Senate, filibustered time and time and time, killing that bill. Well, right now, we are on the verge of seeing it passed. And here on this Facebook Live, we have a number of the people who have been extraordinarily involved in that. Two of Emmett Till's relatives, who we'll introduce in a moment, they have been incredible advocates, incredible leadership. In addition to that, we have Kamala Harris, without whose leadership driving this forward would not be possible. We have Chuck Schumer, who is obviously the leader of the Senate and the Senate Democrats, the great senator from New York, and having just entered one of the great legends in the Congress of the United States of America, Bobby Rush, who has championed this bill on the House side and really can take a bow now because he got it done over there. And so we're going to have a chance to hear from everybody here, but I think it's principally important as we're sitting here in the United States Senate to get to talk to our Senate leader on this legislation, my partner, my friend, Senator Kamala Harris of California.
Well, this is a historic day, and as our dear Cory Booker has mentioned, this has been a long time in the making. Back in 1892, the great Ida B. Wells wrote about the horror, the tragedy, and the crime of lynching in America. In 1900, Congressman White, the only black member of the United States Congress House of Representatives, introduced a bill. And years and years and years of attempting to get this done, it took before today. And I was very proud in 2018 to introduce the bill and joined by Senator Booker and Senator Scott, the two other black members of the United States Senate, and with the leadership of Congressman Bobby Rush on the House side, we are here today to acknowledge America's dark history of the crimes that were committed, of the violence that was exacted on principally the black community, and to say what it is. It was a crime. It was a crime for which there was not justice. The victims of those crimes did not receive justice. The families of those victims did not receive justice. There was not accountability, and there was not consequence. And so today marks a day where we have a reckoning to say this is against the law. It is a crime. Let's acknowledge the history of it. Let us not repeat it. And let us acknowledge that there needs to be an understanding of America's history, and that we must correct and everything, including this, that was wrong and has been wrong and is wrong. And so this Emmett Till anti-lynching bill marks one of those moments where we are doing the right thing, recognizing the history and how we must go forward in a better way.
And so I'm really excited. Senator Schumer, obviously, with everything from the coronavirus to other urgent fights, has made time to be here because he, frankly, is a champion of when it comes to the Congress, the Senate, civil rights legislation, voting rights legislation, criminal justice reform. So much of the progress we are making right now under difficult circumstances is because of the leadership of Senator Chuck Schumer for New York. And he also has a connection, really, to the Emmett Till family, which this is a legislation, as Senator Harris just said, that would have made the vicious, horrific murder of Emmett Till a federal crime. And I'm just really grateful that you would take, I know you have to leave in a few minutes, but that you took some time to be on this in this conversation.
Well, thank you, and I want to thank Senator Booker and Senator Harris for their great leadership on this issue and so many other civil rights issues. They are beacons to all of us here in the Senate, reminding us of the sordid and horrible past and the fact that racism, unfortunately, is still very, very strong and vicious, negative force in America today. Why is this taking so long? After the horrible, brutal, dehumanizing crime of lynching, is it taking this long? But I'm glad at least we are doing it today because it's a symbol of America to look back at our history and know what is wrong. I was involved with the Till family. The DA of Brooklyn, or before he was DA, a man named Ken Thompson was the lawyer for the Till family. A man named Ken Beauchamp did a movie so that we could so that we could reopen the proceedings to bring to justice. They were long gone, but at least in terms of the books and the law, the killers, the brutal murderers of Emmett Till, we were able to get the Justice Department to open up the case in 2007, I believe it was, and now it's pending again, but no one's doing anything about it. They should. Even though those who brutally murdered Emmett Till are long gone, there should be some justice, and that case should be open. But the best way to remember that is the bill that we are trying to pass today. One of the courageous acts of so many just average folks. When Emmett Till was murdered, lynched, people like just those Southerners down there and everybody else in America wanted to shove it under the rug. And Mrs. Till, Emmett's mother, required that his casket be left open. And America saw the brutality that had been done to Emmett Till, and it began to awaken the conscience, which still needs some more awakening today. But her courage also motivates us to pass this bill, and I thank everyone, the Till family, Corey, Kamala, my former colleague when I was in the House, Bobby, for pricking the nation's conscience, which always needs to constantly be reminded, the deep racism that's still in America.
And we want to mention Tim Scott too. This has passed twice through the Senate in a bipartisan, unanimous consent, led by also on our team was Republican Tim Scott. And I want to show you just, before we go to the great Bobby Rush, you want to talk about that? That's now we're seeing, at least in this case, I know it's pending right now, and you have the job to help us shepherd it through today on what's called a hotline.
We're trying to get you pass it, what's called unanimous consent.
Yes.
We have to get all 100 senators not to object. How dare any of them object? I'm optimistic because of the good work of Senator Booker and Senator Harris that this is going to pass today.
Well, before we go to Erica Gordon-Taylor and Ollie Taylor, thank you very much, Chuck, for being here.
Thank you all.
Chuck Taylor,
Appreciate the
thank
honor of
you.
being here.
Yes.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you,
Thank you.
But now we get to go to talk about getting it done over there. Literally, I've rarely seen the House of Representatives do something almost unanimously for dissenting voices. But I just want to say something about you, because I know Kamala and I, Senator Harris and I, feel this very strongly. You were one of the people whose shoulders our generation stands on. You have been, your whole life has been about activism, service. You were one of the great names of the civil rights movement. What you've done, everything from the Black Panthers to your service in the Chicago area, you were really one of the heroic voices here, and it must be particularly meaningful for you, because you've tried before, you've seen these attempts before, but somehow you were able to shepherd everyone on the House side and get this done. This must be a tremendous moment for you, as given the history and the fights and the challenges that you've overcome.
Well, thank you, Senator Booker and Senator Harris and my other former colleague in the House, Senator Scott.
Yes.
We're both ministers, so we have Senator Scott and I have a lot of other kinds of conversation together. This does mean a lot to me. It means so much to me. Originally I was born in a place called Sylvester, Georgia. And we migrated in 1963. My mother took 5 of her children, 4 boys and 1 girl, came to Chicago. My father didn't want to leave. I'm not going there. I'm going to stay here. So on her own, she said, well, I'm taking my children there. And I remember in late 1955, Jet magazine, my mother, come here, I want to put you on, we want to sit around. She showed us this photograph of Emmett Till.
How old were you?
I was, hadn't been about 8 or 9. She said, this is the reason why I brought you all here from Georgia. I did not want to raise my boys in the South. So she migrated, we migrated from Georgia. And I carried that photograph, that moment, that time in my heart. I got to know Ms. Mobley when I became a member of the city council and a member of Congress. I was her congressman. And we had a lot of conversations together. She spent most of her life after Emmett teaching young men and women how to perform, how to act, how to speak. She dedicated her life to the development of young people through the Emmett Till plays.
I was one of them. Is that
And
right?
she was one of them, right? And so when I think about Emmett Till and all the lynchings, you know, over 4,500 lynchings, 75% of them were African American males between 1882 and 1968. So Emmett's image, this bill, image sacrifice, Miss Mobley's courage, and her being, you know, the original hero in many respects.
That's right.
By her making that decision, you know, looking beyond her pain and saying, I want the world to see what they did to Emmett, to my Emmett.
Yes.
I want the world to see what they did to my Emmett. That resulted in it was the instigation for the civil rights movement. It helped shape me, my generation. It helped shape just so many historical movements, not just locally, but internationally.
That's right.
You know, because of one black woman's courage.
That's right.
Powerful.
You
That's
know,
right.
and so this passing this bill to me, you know, it's another step that we are taking in the Congress, in the nation, in the world, you know, try to make this world a better place for everybody. And Emmett at 14 years old made that sacrifice. And we're all standing on the shoulders
That's
of
right.
a 14-year-old young boy who loved life
Yes.
Yes, he did.
and had a personality like yours. Everybody loved him, and he was so affable. But, you know, this great young man.
Well, why don't we go,
Let's hear from the family.
Yeah, let's Miss
Yeah,
Taylor,
let's do
and yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Eric,
Let's
you
start with
should-
my mom because she knew Emmett.
Yes.
She lived with
Ms.
it.
Gordon.
First of all, let me say thank you to all the people who worked hard to bring this anti-lynching ruling into reality. I'm sure that Mamie's mother is rejoicing somewhere
Yes.
in heaven
Yes.
because she may not have gotten justice for Emmett, but this law will make us get justice for so many more.
That's right.
Because Emmett was not the first and definitely not the
That's
last. And for this, our family is grateful. It is an honor because this means that Emmett's legacy is still living.
That's right.
Is still well alive, and his mother never wanted his death to be in vain. And this is a true factor in witnessing that his death was not in vain. And through the generations of our family, we will continue to fight for justice for all. And this anti-lynching bill will make this a reality. And families will not have to suffer the injustice that our family has suffered and that we are continuing to suffer.
But your family has shown such courage in addition to the sacrifice of Emmett Till himself. Over all these years with his mother and you've been keeping his spirit and the cause alive in a way that you've been a great conscience for America about what it has done, and that there should be a reckoning, including a reckoning in the law around the need for consequence for the kind of crime. It was not only an injustice, it was a crime of violence, of great and extreme violence. It was a hate crime. It was motivated by hate. And you, through love for him and the need to fight for justice, have helped bring us in such an important way by inspiring us to this moment. So we have nothing but thanks and praise for your family and what you have sacrificed and how you have led. And truly.
I just want to say, this is for not just because of Emmett, but because of others like the family of Viola Loizo, the family of Michael Donald. And then, as you were speaking about hate crimes, that was 65 years ago, but so many more hate crimes are still happening today. And we can't forget those families. So this is for us, our family, and those families who have suffered so much loss because of hate crimes and because of racism and the injustices. Mamie fought tirelessly until the end of her life. And I didn't grow up with Emmett, but because I grew up under Mamie, she taught me how to continue the fight for justice for not just our family, but for everyone else. As you spoke of the Emmett Till players, she said God may have taken her only child, but he gave her thousands more. She devoted her entire life to teaching young people to be the best of whatever they are. Through the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, those were the excerpts that she taught us. But I am just so grateful. It has taken 120 years since the 1900s to get to this place, but we are now here. And even though our family has not received justice for Emmett's murder, and we're still waiting on pending information as to if we might get justice or not, but this is one form of justice for our family and for other families who have been living with the hurt and the pain of losing a loved one violently because of hate. So we thank you so much, Senator Harris, Senator Booker, Senator Scott in his absence, Congressman Rush. We are so grateful that you have fought for this, and we stand with you and we fight with you for this.
And you know, so you knew Miss Mamie Till, and that moment that Chuck Schumer described, and that when you're at the pit of your grief, and all of us have been, unfortunately, to too many funerals for young black boys who were murdered. But this was a horrific, where these men conspired to murder him, and yet in that pit of pain, she thought to keep the casket open. And I think it ran in Jet magazine.
Yes, it was Jet magazine.
And it just shocked not only the consciousness, obviously African Americans were more connected to this, but it shocked the consciousness of the whole country. And in many ways, I think that it was this idea of disturbing those who were comfortable with that level of hatred and injustice. So I never had the honor of talking to Miss Mamie, but the courage in just doing that took a strength that was so awesome and really changed this nation forever.
She said that what happened to Emmett and how he looked in that casket, she wanted people to see what racism looked like. And she said that that's what racism looked like, the aftermath of Emmett, him laying in that casket. And I watched her for years. If she wasn't teaching and training young people, she was putting together large displays, and to sit there and weekly cut out the pictures of Emmett after he was murdered, put them on boards and such, and to sit there and speak about it. I still have those boards with those images, even though they're the same. They're repeat what this one looked like. Her tears are on those boards, and that's all I think about is that she sat there and her tears with tears doing this to continue to show and tell the world what happened to Emmett years and years and years afterwards. We're coming up to the 65th year anniversary, August 28th this year, of Emmett's murder. And she taught us to do that. So now I use the computer.
That's right.
And I do the same thing, and I go out and talk and teach and educate young people. I've had Emmett Till players under my instruction because of Mamie's instruction. And I tell you, all of those children, they are doctors, they are lawyers, they are clergy. Most of the young boys are clergy. They have grown up to become complete great citizens today, and that's because of Mamie as well.
But you know, the other thing that also strikes me is Mamie Till was not only a hero, a shero, and a leader, she was a leader before her time. Because think about the significance of what she understood, which is the visual of hatred. That when people see it and its consequences, maybe they will get it.
Right.
So now we have people showing it from their smartphones, from the audio that they can collect with their smartphone. So all of a sudden, I think that one of the greatest advancements around this issue and the fight for civil rights and justice, one of the most recent greatest advances has been the smartphone.
And we have an Emmett Till app.
Right, there you go. To do exactly what Mamie Till understood, which is show it. And then maybe even though for generations we've been talking about it and nobody believed it, if they see it, maybe they will get it. Yeah. She was a woman ahead of her time in understanding the significance of show them if they need it, if that's what is required for them to believe.
I just heard something, an Emmett Till app.
Yes.
Maybe I need to download, but can you tell us what the Emmett Till app is?
It's for the phone. You can download the Emmett Till app, and it's instrumental in helping you find all of the locations and markers in Mississippi, and we just added some for Chicago. We're working on the Chicago portion.
Markers of
where his body was tossed into the Tallahatchie River. Any location pertinent to the history of Emmett and the story of what happened. The grocery store is on there, Bryant's grocery store. So it'll help you get to the location, and once you get there, it tells you about what happened on the app.
And can you, Bobby, maybe you can chime in here, because I grew up in a different era. My parents warned me about driving. As an African-American man, I had to be aware when I walked into malls, people following me. But it's very different than my dad's generation, where it was like if you look at a person the wrong way, if you arouse suspicion, and your mother moved you to Chicago, that was a powerful statement when you said that to me, that she was so afraid of the terrorism.
Yeah. You know, black mothers during that period, especially those who were in the South, they had and even beyond that, it's just something about motherhood, particularly black mothers, they have a sixth sense of imminent danger, especially to their male children. All right? And so they develop all these strategies on how to keep their children alive, their young black boys alive.
That's right.
And so that was the impetus and the impulse that my mother displayed. But even when Miss Till lost Emmett, she dug somewhere so deep that frankly, I don't really think that only a mother could go there.
That's right. That's right.
Because she was in a lot of ways. My understanding, I didn't know Emmett and I didn't know Miss Till when she was alive. But everything I heard her say, the inflection of her voice, her whole total being, she loved Emmett. He was the only child.
Well, let me just...
And for her to just say, you know, this is not my pain. I've already dealt with my pain.
Yes.
This is the pain for the world to accept
Yes.
Exactly.
and see. And
And that's well said. That actually captures the whole point.
Yes.
That
Well,
actually captures it.
let me wrap up with a thank you, and then maybe ask Kamala to sign us off, but I just want to say thank you, Bobby Rush, for what you've done. You've seen in Chicago the horrors, you saw the assassination of Fred Hampton, you've been championing, but you're taking that pain and making it your purpose. You championed it, you got Nancy Pelosi, the speaker over there, she led that through the House. I'm just grateful for you. I want to say thank you to both of you for being here. Wow.
Yes.
And thank you for continuing to live with such purpose and understanding that that at least in this sense, one of our greatest American tragedies, at least we've honored that ideal of justice with having hopefully a triumph in Congress. And then I just want to say my thanks to Senator Harris and Tim Scott, who keeps being mentioned. I still have to say one of my favorite moments as a United States Senator was to stand next to Kamala Harris the first time it passed through the Senate, have us down there honoring a history in this body that's never seen the likes of us before. This is the first time in American history that there are 3 African Americans serving at the same time, even.
Well, when I got here, we decided we would have a Senate Black Caucus.
That's where it started.
Now there are 3 of us.
So
whenever they see the 3 of us on the floor together, it's a caucus meeting.
And so this might be the first triumph of our caucus.
Right.
And so I just want to honor our history, because we know,
How you
Kamala,
like that, Bobby?
we are here now because they were there then.
Yes.
We hopefully
Yes.
in this way we've made our ancestors proud. But
That's
Kamala, why
right.
don't you wrap us
Well,
up?
I want to thank you, everybody, and it is an important moment. And in addition to everything else we have acknowledged, let's also acknowledge that it has been, and I want to thank Senator Booker, Senator Scott for joining on this and leading it, and that it took the 3 Black senators in the United States Senate. That just has to be noted. That it took one of the longest standing Black members of the House of Representatives. That has to be noted, because, and the point being this, it shouldn't have been necessary. This is about America's history, not Black history, America's history, and the dark chapters of American history. So I applaud the leadership that we as Americans have shown to confront America's legacy and to also commit ourselves to the ideals of who we are as a country. So that's it. Thank you, Corey.
And I just, because you brought up a point, I want you to comment on this, Kamala. This is not just for African Americans. Lynching is not just, in other words, this is Matthew Shepard.
72%,
Yes.
only 72% of the total are African American.
Yeah.
The others are not.
Could be race, religion, orientation.
Orientation, all of that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. So everyone will benefit from this.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.